Welcome, everybody. This is Chris Stein with Flex Rental Solutions. Today, I have the privilege to introduce Benjamin Coppel. For those who know him, Biggs is what you go by, correct?
That's right.
Yep. Biggs and I, and also known as Supreme Executive Leader of SquareWave. And we're going to be talking about all the fun stuff that our kind of long relationship and what you're doing now. So I know my story of where we first met. Do you remember?
Yeah. It was in Australia. I have been the in-house flex person for a renowned lighting company based in Melbourne, and who had just moved from higher track to flex. And I was working in the repair shop there, repairing moving lights. And I heard about this effort, and I put my hand up. I said, "Hey, the last company I worked at, we moved from higher track to flex. And I know a little bit about that. Would you like some help?" And they said, "Oh yeah, that'd be great. Why don't you help us out for a couple of months? We'll move you over for 2 to 3 months to work on this transition." About 2 years later, it felt like I was done enough with that job to move on. No fault of Flex. It was a slow moving process, and there were a lot of reasons that it took so long. But you came out. We did a week of training with you. You came out, and that's when we got to know each other.
Yeah, at the beginning, I think I've heard of you before. What company did you used to work for before you worked there in Melbourne? I'm sure you've made a bunch of different stops, but you were with, was it Technotrix?
Yeah, I was at Technotrix in Chicago.
Cool. Yeah, and so when we met, I kind of thought you worked for them full-time. You were kind of freelancing, part-time-ish. What was the story behind that?
In Melbourne at Resolution X?
Yeah.
No, I was full-time-ish. I don't think I worked full-time hours, but that was my main gig, and I did lighting operation and programming as well as fixing moving lights before then be working on the Flex transition project.
Cool. So how'd you get from there to SquareWave?
Yeah, well, when that finished up, they pushed go on Flex, and we had everything dialed in within some number of months after that, and I was also having my first child around that time and wanted to stop gigging and have more normal hours. There's a punchline here later down the road. So I said, well, what if I took this expertise that I've learned? I'm kind of an expert Flex administrator at this point. Is this something that I can freelance with? And I spoke to you about it, and we had a 1-hour Skype interview where you asked me a bunch of questions, and at the end you said, "All right, good enough. You can be a Flex consultant." I was like, "Great." And you put me on the website next to the esteemed Aaron Horn, my friend Aaron, who's very good. And that was it. And because I was in Australia and there wasn't a Flex presence in Australia, I was able to kind of market myself as an Australian Flex person and got in touch with a lot of the Flex users around Australia and try and help them out as someone local.
Very cool. So when you were working full-time with ResX in their transition, what were the things that you were specializing in or took longer than you thought, or things that, you spent a lot of time on? How about that? Or things that they were struggling?
Yeah, at ResX, they're very methodical and very procedure-based, and they definitely look before they leap, and I love that. I think it's a really good way to conduct business and run a stable business. So there were a lot of questions. They'd say, "Well, can Flex do this way?" And I would look into it and come back and say, "Well, either yes, great, or no, and here's some different options of how it works." And then we, have to look into it. And there were a few different iterations of that. There was a big debate over. At that point, they weren't serialized on higher track. And there was a big debate. Do we serialize now as part of this transition, or is that too much? They got a lot of stock. We're talking, I think, 60,000 units, something like that. Or do we just transition as non-serial and then later down the track serialize once we're fully on Flex? And that was the choice that was made, but that took some research as well.
Yeah, if I remember correct, I was a little bit blown away that a company of that size we're still working on a non-serialized modality. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. Everything has its advantages and disadvantages, but definitely companies who grow and scale find the value in the serialization. So that was an interesting, different, but cool.
Yeah, I think it only worked because they're so procedural and methodical and follow the rules. Working on paper and pull sheets and counts only works if everybody's doing the right thing.
100%. So everything's a process, and it's how well you work through those processes and how well they're ingrained. And non-serialized can work. The only problem is when those processes break down, there has to be a lot of what I call detective work and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're process driven and methodical, it does work. It works well.
Definitely.
Cool. And so you transitioned to freelancer. Had you started Square Wave by then, or was that kind of like, oh, I'm getting a little bit busy? How did that process go?
I had not started SquareWave, certainly not in name. I had my personal lighting business, and I worked under that name doing the flex work for a little bit before I decided that it was worth a rebrand. And I my sort of silent partner, shout out to Rusty, he and I came up with the SquareWave name and branding and pivoted in that direction a little bit. It was still the same
Very
business. It
cool.
was still just based in Australia, really. But then, after a few years, I started picking up clients in America, and that was a turning point.
Yeah. How many employees you got now? You got consultants and everyone, but yeah, what's that company looking like now?
Yeah, we're about 10 people on the roster, and I'd say 8 of those are full-time and then 2 part-time.
That's cool. And so what has been the biggest transition for you going from a team of 1 to a team of 8 to 10?
I think there's been multiple. Definitely one is standardization. When it was just me, I could just show up, I could answer questions, I could suss out on a case-by-case basis what a particular client's needs were, and then deliver those things myself. Now we have processes and procedures and standardized products and training programs internally, which allows us to be able to continue to deliver those services and help our clients without everybody knowing everything.
Oh, cool. So you said something, process to find out needs. What does that process look like for you? How do you go through and help a company? Talk me through how that starts out.
Yeah, we call it our discovery process. I'm certainly not a proprietary name. Many consultants.
What?
Every time you say that, you got to pay me now. I own that word. So we have a discovery process, which is pretty standard for consultants. We sit down with all the stakeholders and team leaders at a company, and we ask them a lot of pointed questions. Most of the time, this is conducted on Zoom, which is a bit of a shame because the times that I've gotten to do it in person and we spend a whole day together in a conference room is really valuable, both for building relationships and also for having time to dig into some of the issues. When we do it on a 2-hour Zoom, it's really fast, but we do get through it.
Yeah.
I can do a discovery on your sales process and your operations process, come out of it 2 hours of asking you questions, running through a deck, and have pages and pages of notes that then get processed into a report and a proposal for all the next steps. So we have kind of honed it down into a science and are able to tease out a lot of those problems. And it's funny, a lot of people, I'm sure this isn't confined to this effort or this industry, but the customers report the symptoms, and then it's up to the expert to spy the root of the problem. And I've gotten one thing that I've definitely noticed from when I started. When I started, I really considered myself a flex technician. It was like, just tell me what you want Flex to do, and I'll make it do that. And I've definitely grown to be much more of a consultant now. It's within 5 minutes of talking to a new customer, I'll start berating them. I'm like, you need 2 new full-time staff in this position and this position. That's your biggest problem. None of these problems will get fixed until you've filled those holes. So it's a very different approach than it used to be.
How do you differentiate between, the basis of the problem and the symptom? Like, give me an example.
We don't trust our numbers. Our inventory is out of whack.
Okay. And what does that tell you? What is that? That is a symptom, or is
It,
that a problem?
it's both. There's multiple symptoms that come from that, but it's kind of the middle of it. That's kind of the stem of the problem, where the root is actually different. The root is you don't have enough people, you don't have enough the right process, you don't have standardized processes, you don't have a good enough understanding of Flex as a tool. There's multiple issues that coalesce into one big problem that mean the inventory numbers aren't right.
Perfect. Perfect. How often are you using other tools other than Flex in your solutions?
Flex is the main our primary tool that we consult on. That's our whole business is built around Flex. We will, as part of our journey as consultants, we've gotten to become experts in other SaaS platforms. So, for example, we use Asana internally for task management, and we'll consult on Asana. We'll help a company get set up on Asana and get using it well and customized to their needs. But definitely, Flex is the one. We have gotten very good at sort of building custom solutions using custom fields and custom reports to get data in and out of Flex in ways that it's not necessarily doesn't do out of the box. But we've also then found a need to build our own tool, and that's Loomium.
That's cool. Very cool. Yeah, we're starting to use a lot of the terminology or tech stack. What's your tech stack? Because you can't write one software that will solve every problem that you need. Oh, you got a sales team. They're probably going to be using different sales tool. Oh, you got an accounting platform. Every so often I'll get people, when are you going to write an accounting platform? It's like, yeah, nah, highly unlikely. And you get this sort of tech stack that you're trying to connect all these pieces together. So cool. Interesting. So you mentioned Loomium. What's the difference between Loomium and SquareWave?
Yeah, so Loomium is a software platform that SquareWave has built after years of coming upon solutions that we knew we wanted to provide but couldn't with the tools that were available, meaning custom reports and custom fields and things like that on the Flex platform. We decided that, with the new API on Flex 5, we can build sort of integrated software. And so let's do that. So we started playing with it years ago and then really started in earnest about 2 years ago. And now Loomium, we've built as a platform of integrated tools for Flex. So there's actually 3 different categories of products that we can deliver on the Loomium platform. One is integrations between Flex and other software. So we have a unreleased version of a Flex to NetSuite integration. NetSuite's an enterprise accounting platform. So when it's finished, it'll be very similar to the Flex to QuickBooks integration, being able to push invoices from Flex to NetSuite, sync POs, quotes, event folders, all sorts of stuff. So that's one category, is integrations. Category 2, we call them Looms. Boy, did we debate over the name of this software for a long time, but we loved how Zapier has Zaps, and we're like, great, Loomium has Looms, plus then it's integrated in the industry. And just like a loom is a bundle of cables that can deliver value in a show, then a loom in Loomium is a bundle of features that deliver value for a specific purpose. So our first product that we released, our first Loom, is an interactive operations dashboard platform. It's the kind of the thing that can go up on a big plasma screen in the warehouse, and it shows you a lot of different statistics and information about what's going on in your warehouse, what jobs are coming in and out, how many scans you have left for the day, how busy the warehouse is in a particular day of the week, things like that, as well as providing other interactive features that kind of extend the capabilities of Flex in the operations realm.
Cool. Who's it for? Is this any Flex customers, specific types of customers? What do you think?
We've really targeted it to be as helpful as possible for any Flex customer. We basically are providing different ways to view the data that's in Flex, and provide view and interact with the data in helpful ways that aren't available in Flex. So whether you're have 4 different warehouses and 7 different loading docks in each, or whether you're in a small garage storage unit, is it helpful to have a screen that shows you everything that's going in and out for the day, and track some other helpful statistics without having to run a report? We think so.
Cool. Very cool. What's been the funnest part of putting together that project?
I think the best part of building Loomium is taking problems that I've heard about over and over through the years and desires that users have, and being able to build a solution for it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, me too. It's always about solving problems, and that's one of the problems with Flex is, it is an ERP. It is all encompassing, and there are so many people in the companies that we provide services for that all want, raise their hand for different things. And I always talk about, it's like having, 20 different kids and trying to feed them all every night and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, we got to focus on keep these guys happy for a little bit, and then we got to work on these guys and stuff like that. And, one of the questions is, are we competitors?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I mean, you can't use Loomium without being a Flex user already. If you stop using Flex, then Loomium's of no use to you. And also, we have no interest in building features that sort of compete with Flex's built-in features. The features in Flex are great. We love them. We help people use them best. But if there's something that's not in Flex, or something that we think can be done a different way and offer value that way, then that's where we're building those features into Loomium.
Yeah, I've been asked that question before, and to me, I don't want this to sound weird, but like it's an honor to have a company like SquareWave see the value in our product and be evangelists in their own right for our product. And I'm excited to see people putting even more value and seeing the value to spend time in providing those services for our customers. I wish we could write every single feature that everyone ever wanted. I do. I'm just a realist and stuff like that, and QA would kill me. So, it's really fun to see what you're doing with it, and what your customers are, leading you on and stuff like that. So you've got Loomium. I think you also have, what other services do you provide besides the Loomium product?
Before moving on, I did want to mention the third category of product in Loomium, which I'm really jazzed about. So it's called LumiU. It's part of the Loomium platform, but it's an educational platform. So this is a kind of lightweight learning management system where you can go and take online interactive training courses on the platform. So over the years, as trainers and consultants, we've developed standardized courses. There's an operations basic, there's a sales basic. These are the best practices and all the skills and knowledge that someone who's in the warehouse or who's selling via quotes need to know to use Flex best. And so we've taken that information, built it into training courses, all with different sections and different articles, and you can click through and there's screenshots, and put that into Loomium as well. So ensuring that this allows company owners and leaders to ensure that their staff know how to use all the tools that are there in Flex well. I can't tell you how many times I've mentioned offhand little tidbits to a client in a consultation, and I can almost hear through Zoom the sound of them smacking their forehead. They're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know about that feature. Bulk edit? No way. Click on description to collapse? No way. I could have saved myself." They'd start counting up all the time they could have saved by doing things manually just because they didn't know that the better feature was right there in front of them. So I love being able to communicate those best practices through these training courses. We've even put quizzes in. So if you want to be very strict and procedural. You want to make sure that anybody who's using Flex in a scanner in your warehouse knows all the right stuff. Then they can take this course in Loomium, be quizzed at the end of it, so you're sure that they're retaining the information.
Very cool. I love it. Yeah. It's, you mentioned Aaron Horn. We've got many different consultants that are doing different service on top of it. And I think it just kind of proves the value of the product and the value in helping other customers get the most out of it in whatever way they're using it.
Yeah.
So you've got, go ahead.
I just wanted to give Aaron a little plug because I think he's really great. And anytime that we get to chat and hang out, it's always so nice. And it's funny, the times when we've back when SquareWave was just a one bigs operation rather than the whole team, he and I were the only people in the world doing this. We had a cohort of 2, and it was great to get together and chat and share stories and commiserate. And it's funny being so niche like that. Anyway, lots of respect to Aaron. He's awesome.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned, it was so good to get together with customers and spend the whole day with them. Like back in those early days, I did quite a bit of that, and it was really fun to just get in there and roll up your sleeves and say, let's solve some problems and stuff. And, Zoom has its advantages, but sometimes you do miss those days.
Absolutely.
Very cool. And then you guys also do quite a bit with custom reporting. Zellers is just the man. How'd you find him?
Great question. Zellers and I found each other at a Burning Man style event, which I just kind of tumbled into, and we recognized in each other similar nerdiness for lighting and fun interactive things. So before we started doing any work on software or Flex related things, we were building interactive LED installations together and working on giant insect art cars and all sorts of fun stuff. And after a few years of that, we realized that we worked really well together, and he's got an incredible mind and incredible technical capability. He's the kind of person who will build like a golf cart sized buggy from scratch with all the motoring and the electricals and the batteries, and then install the lighting and program it himself and automation. He'll just like build a whole robot from start to finish, and has self-taught all of these skills. So when my SquareWave was getting a bit more busy and I was struggling to produce the custom reports that I needed to in time, I approached him and said, hey, I've got this little business. I built these reports. They're based on MySQL. He said, yep, I know that. I said, okay, cool. And showed him what it works. He's like, yeah, okay, I can figure all that out. I'm like, all right, you want to come do this with me? Yeah, sure. So he started just doing freelance report development. I tried to tell him everything I knew, but he refused that and made sure he had to go learn it himself the hard way. But he's now, I believe, the world leader in Flex report development. We haven't yet met a problem that we couldn't solve with JasperSoft and Flex. So we're doing some pretty cool things.
Yeah. Definitely. Some of the stuff you guys are doing with custom reports are just beautiful and very involved and deep, and doing some cool manipulation of data and displaying it well. So kudos to you guys. I love it.
Thanks.
What other services besides this are you offering to your customers?
Yeah, we definitely, consultation is a big part of it. Or meeting with customers, figuring out their problems, and then delivering those solutions or identifying what they are if it's not something we can deliver. Then training is always a big part of it as well, like I mentioned earlier.
When you say consultation, like what sort of stuff are you consulting on? Is it all Flex related?
Yeah, generally. Occasionally we end up Flex adjacent. Like I mentioned earlier, slapping company owners around about full-time positions that don't exist that they need to have. We've done enough of this that we've realized we've worked with companies where things work really well. We know what that looks like. We know what the org chart for a beautifully functioning production company looks like. And sure, they're not all exactly the same, but there are certain things that are in place and certain things that are not. And so that's something we'll advise on if asked. Or other technical things. Someone will say, well, if we really want to make this tool work, and it's something else, do you have any experience with it? Actually, we do. We can help with that. It's not a normal service that we offer, but hey, if we have the capability and we have a good working relationship, why not help you with it?
with org chart comes responsibilities and stuff. How does that fit into your process?
By responsibilities, you mean like position descriptions and roles?
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we've literally built a template org chart with all of the positions and like summary position descriptions and roles and responsibilities built in, and it's got some flexibility. So you can have multiples of these or one, maybe this scales out to multiple departments over in this area or not, or these roles can be combined, but having this way of thinking about it, and it's actually the responsibilities that are more important than the positions. Identifying the fact that once you hit a certain scale, you need someone whose job it is to keep the administration, the paperwork of a job in order. They need to be doing labor POs after the fact. They need to be doing the contract. They need to be keeping all the paperwork moving in and out at the beginning and at the end of the job to make sure all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. That sometimes a salesperson doing it, sometimes a project manager, sometimes there's two people and their whole job is keeping all of the paperwork in order. But identifying that's a job that has to happen, if you haven't identified that, then it can fall through the cracks, and that can then impact the flex process. When I ask, we're talking flex workflow, and I say, all right, how do I know the job is confirmed? At some companies, it's very clear. Finance has sent the contract, it's been signed, and a prepayment has been received. In other companies, we just know. I just got a feeling. Either the salesperson or the project manager pushes confirm when they're pretty sure that it's going ahead. And having a tight administration process can make it easy to then have a tight workflow process.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the things that I've always mentioned about this industry that I think you and I love, the live events, like most of the companies are started from very bootstrap origin. None of them go and get, masters of businesses at these great colleges, and they do it because they love it and they get really good at it and they bring more people along and they grow and grow and grow. And sometimes the process and organization lags behind the quality of the work. Quality of work gets done. That whole mentality of the show must go on. Dude, our customers live and breathe by that. But then it's like, okay, did we dot our I's and close everything out and do everything? Those are some of the things that, we got too busy with the next job and stuff like that. So, those processes that we put in place and really make sure that, you're getting from A to Z are really important.
Yeah, I totally agree. What gets me going and keeps me going is helping companies in this industry reach their full potential. And it's not, you don't have to throw a stone very far to find a company that has a lot of untapped potential in that way. And you're absolutely right. A lot of it is that general business best practices aren't necessarily being followed because the company started as a 19-year-old kid in their garage with some speakers and a dream. And that's great. So great. You got a full company now. You got 50 employees, but you're still not doing these few things in the right way to support your business and have it be as profitable and as efficient as possible. So that's, as a consultant, I really love getting to contribute to that effort.
Very cool. So if people want to get a hold of SquareWave, how do they get in touch with you guys? You work 24/7, if I'm not correct.
It feels like it sometimes. And there's a punchline I mentioned earlier. I was having a kid, so I said, I want to stop gigging and have more regular hours. I'll become a consultant. And that worked for a few years when all my clients were on the same continent as me in Australia. And now that most of our clientele are in America, my meeting calendar starts very early in the morning. And now that we have some clients in the UK, my meeting calendar ends very late at night. So on a certain day, you can catch me working from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. with some naps in between.
Okay, we got to fix that.
Yeah, right? That's all right. The naps are key. Anyway, how do you get in touch with SquareWave? Check out our website at squarewave.com.au or check out the Loomium website at loomium.io or just drop us a line, send me an email at hello@squarewave.com.au. Love to hear from you, figure out how we can help you use Flex better and realize all your latent potential.
And what's your timelines for the Loomium product? Where are you guys at?
Yeah, so right now we've released our operations Loom. Next up coming in a few months will be our sales loom, which is going to have some really killer features, some very cool P&L analysis, some other sales metrics, win-loss rate being shown in interactive dashboards, and one of my favorites, which is a template job creator. Be able to say, I want an event folder with this name and these dates, and then I'm going to add a quote, and it's from my audio template quote, and I'm going to add another quote from my lighting template quote, and for my staging and labor, and having template quotes that you can then use to build a job with all those line items pre-structured. I'm really jazzed about that. So yeah, that'll be coming in a couple of months, and we are hoping to see some more integrations come down the pipeline, and certainly we'll be doing more Loomium courses. So within a month or two, I hope to have our operations basic and sales basic course both up and running, and a few more as well.
Awesome. I'm excited to see what you guys are doing. You guys always, push us and keep us on our toes. And I think our customers will always see value in some of the great things you guys do, and can't wait to see every great feature you guys put in there and add value to our value.
Yeah, I love how our little teams push each other, and we've got a whole ecosystem, and it's all for the benefit of the customers, like you flagged.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for waking up early and joining us, and hope you have a great weekend. And thanks. And we will be back in a month with another podcast.
Thanks for having me,
Thanks
Chris.
a lot.
It's been great.
See you, Biggs.
Bye.
Bye-bye.